Leon, so you might want to check the chat. There are some comments like that you have to attend to. I don't know.
Okay. Oh my God. So I try to minimize the people that can on their video at every point in time. So it's just going to be only a few of us. I'm going to be making every one of us that needs to turn on their video. Give me a moment. Live streaming is up and running. Okay, so
All right, Leon, it's 5 o'clock. West African time.
Go.
Leon, can you hear me? I don't know whether it's my network or yours. I want to be sure you can hear me. Hi, Leon. I want to be sure you can hear me before I start.
We can hear you clearly. Please go ahead, Eric.
Okay, all right. Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for the official launch of the African Liberty Network. Trust you are perfectly doing okay this 7th day, right, of January. I think it's a beautiful month already. And welcome to a new year, 2026. My name is Eric Mubu, and I serve as Director for Programs and Development at Live Center, a pro-freedom think tank in Nigeria, spreading liberty and prosperity across Africa. And my job here today is very simple, but I'll also collaborate with all of us to make sure we get into the business of the day properly. So I'll be guiding us through today's session. But before we begin, permit me to give brief orientation of why we are here and how we are going to set the pace running. This is not a celebration event, maybe as it might be in your mind. It is a founding moment, an opportunity to introduce the purpose, principles, and long-term direction of the new Pan-African Policy Network that we are creating at African Liberty Network. So today's session will run for about 60 minutes, that's an hour, and we will keep strictly to time. We invite you to listen with understanding about what the launch is all about, as it marks a beginning of an institutional journey. And of course, this meeting is not just going to be the final conclusion to what we have for today, but of course, it's going to be like a bridge that sets the precedent of the African Liberty Network, even as we move into the year properly. So to set this today's meeting of this foundational moment running for today's launch, it's my privilege to also invite the president of the African Liberty Network to deliver the founding address. This address will speak to why ALN exists, the problem it seeks to address, and the principle, of course, that guides everything that will be done by ALN, even as we progress into the year and, of course, the future to come. So please, if your hands are not too busy, you can just do drum rolls, share your emojis on the chat, just do something. I think by now, Leon should have given all of you access to like the chat box or something. So please share your emojis. Let me see those emojis. Let me see the moment you're in right now. As I make welcome Leonard Ogunwede, who is the president of the African Liberty Network, as he take on the stage to give the first founding address for today before we go forward with the rest of the program. So please, ladies and gentlemen, let's have Leonard Ogunwede.
So thank you very much, Eric. It's an honor to be here. Good evening, colleagues, partners, and friends across Africa and beyond. Thank you for joining us today. Your presence here really matters to all of us, not just as an audience, but as a fellow builders of idea, institution, and long-term solution. Main reason why we gather here today is to formally launch the African Liberty Network. Like Eric mentioned, it is not a celebration, it's a declaration of purpose. Because ALN exists because Africa's future will not be determined by slogans, personality, or short-term interventions. It is certain that it will only be determined by the strength of its institutions and the quality of the ideas that shapes those institutions. Across this continent, I can categorically tell you with all empirical facts that there is no shortage of talent, no shortage of commitment, nor courage. What has been missing for far too long is sustained coordination among independent policy institutions, working on similar questions in parallel, often unaware of one another's work, and too rarely able to translate ideas into durable influence. ALN was created to address that gap. The problem we seek to confront is not the absence of good intention. It is the fragmentation of it. It is the isolation. It is the quiet inefficiency of institutions doing serious work alone when collaboration could multiply our impact. The African Liberty Network is a response to that reality. It is a Pan-African coalition of independent policy institutions committed to advancing freedom, accountability, and opportunity, not an abstract idea, but as practical foundations for institutional development and economic progress. Let me be very clear about one thing, the principle that guide this network. There are 4 things we have in mind. First is independence. ALN exists to strengthen institutions, not to subsume them. Our members retain their autonomy, their identity, and their intellectual position. There is no central doctrine to adopt or no line to toe. No. The second thing is we pursue idea before politics because we believe durable reform begins upstream in research, debate, and persuasion. ALN is not a political project. It is an idea-driven institutional platform. The third is African leadership. The solutions that shape Africa's future must be grounded in African realities, informed by local experience and led by institutions rooted in this continent. Don't get me wrong, external partnership matters, but agency should remain here. And the fourth is long-term thinking. We are not optimizing for visibility, funding cycle, or short-term wins. And no, what we are building is for durability. Networks that outlast moments and institutions that mature over decades. It is also important to tell you or to state what ALN is not. Number one thing is we are not a headquarter. We are not a campaign. We are not a donor-driven structure. And we are not a substitute for existing institutions or initiatives. ALN is a coordinating platform, light in structure, serious in intention, designed to connect institutions, facilitate shared learning, amplify credible ideas, and strengthen policy influence across borders. In many ways, this network reflects the evolution of the ecosystem that already exists. Over the years, organizations across Africa, often supported by partners who believe in institutional development and idea-led forum and reform, have laid the groundwork for what is possible today. We acknowledge the history with respect, without dependency, and with a clear sense of responsibility to build forward. Now you can ask, what does engagement with ALN look like in practice? It looks like collaboration where it adds values, not obligation. It looks like shared learning across country and context. It looks like amplifying ideas that deserve wide consideration. And it looks like patient, principled work to strengthen the role of ideas in shaping policy outcome. The African Liberty Network will succeed only if it remains disciplined, resisting the temptation to overextend, overpromise, or centralized authority. Our ambition is not to scale for its own sake, but coherence, credibility, and cumulative impact. And as we look ahead, our focus is clear: to help ensure that ideas matter more in African policy conversations, that institutions learn from one another rather than compete in isolation, and that freedom, accountability, and opportunity are treated not as slogan, but as essential components of institutional design. To our partners and peers in the room, this network is not complete without you, but it will not ask you to compromise who you are. Engagement with ALN is an invitation to explore alignment, collaboration, and shared learning at a pace and depth that makes sense for your institution. If you see value in what we are building, we welcome you to participate. If you are curious, we welcome your questions. And if you choose to engage, we welcome you as peers. Today marks the beginning of the long-term institutional project. The real work starts after this launch with discipline, humility, and commitment to idea that endures. Thank you for your time and trust and your continued work in shaping Africa's future. We look forward to building thoughtfully and collaboratively in the years ahead. Thank you very much. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you so very much, Leon. That was great. I think that was clear and very wonderful groundbreaking statement for a kind of launch like this. I'm excited that we are all here. And of course, this next person is someone who I've always dreamt of meeting. Of course, I met her one time in South Africa, but then we didn't really get time to either network or converse, to have like a conversation and all of that. I've been reading her work on Telegram and of course, following what they do. It's been an amazing, phenomenal woman fighting for the, liberty of Africa here in Africa, that Africa must be themselves to really take charge of who they are, not just depending on a whole lot of foreign aid and of course, what we have been told by the West and all of that. So to take the African Liberty Network within the borders of this ecosystem of ideas-driven institutional work, just like Leon has put it, we will now turn to a reflection, ideas, institution, and African policy future. This perspective will help the African Liberty Network not as a departure, but as a revolution of serious long-term work across the continent. To take us through this reflection and through this time of we getting to like come back to ourselves and rethink of what we've been doing as various think tanks in our various countries or various regions, please, I am pleased to invite to us or to invite to this launch today, Margaret Wade, to offer this reflection. Margaret is a phenomenal woman and I can't just wait to listen to her speak, share her reflection with us, even as we also make pause in our hearts to listen to her speak to us throughout this launch or during this launch. So please, if your hands are not too busy, can we see those smiling emojis and of course those clapping emojis on the chat as we welcome our own Margaret Wade. So Margaret, if you can hear me, please take it away.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Leonard. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, all of you, for what you're doing, for putting yourself, out there to promote these ideas, because at the end of the day, these are ideas that have sustained the test of time, the test of space, and at some point, there's just no need to try and to recreate the wheel. We do know what freedom does to humans, wherever it's provided to humans, and I think it's about time that the Africans also wake up to that. So I guess for me, the reason why I was very excited by your invitation, especially at this particular time, I am sure that everybody has been watching how the world is getting reorganized, right? You're seeing all of these bans, whether it's travel bans, visa bans on primarily African nations. I would always argue that this is happening because Africa happens to be the poorest region in the world. And as long as people try to migrate because of hunger rather than because of, taste, you're going to have, wealthy nations, especially during times of populism, like we're seeing a little bit everywhere. The immigrants, the foreigner becomes the first, person that we point fingers at as to why things are not good. And so they're the first one that people will say, keep them out of our doors. If they stay out, then maybe we get more for ourselves. So regardless of what motivates people to do this, the result on us is the same. And it's a very big wake-up call, a wake-up call that I know I've been trying to send to everybody. I'm sure you guys have been working on. And that wake-up call has always been very simple. We Africans need to build up our nations. Period. Just period. Even if the rest of the world had opened their doors to us and welcomed us, with open arms, we still have a job to do of building at home, because we know that given a chance, almost pretty much anybody would prefer to stay and build a life at home, surrounded by their loved ones, their community, and their culture. We just know that. It's very few of us travel all around. And the reason why we do it, we all know it. So for me, the mandate has always been about, we got to build these nations of ours. If you don't matter economically speaking, you just don't exist. It's that bad. It doesn't make it right, wrong. That is a whole nother conversation. But at the end of the day, it's reality that we're dealing with. So what does it mean? And most importantly, I'm hearing a lot of noise. What does it mean, especially how do we build these nations of ours? And when it comes to Africa, I dare to say Africa and not go country by country. Because when it comes to these issues and our shared poverty, we're all in the same boat. And at that point, the continent looks almost like a village. And when you look at the reasons why we're where we are, it's the same in Senegal or in Ghana that it is in Sierra Leone, that it is in Ethiopia. It doesn't matter where you are. We know now that Africa is the poorest region in the world because it happens to be the least. It happens to be the region of the world where entrepreneurs are the least free to enterprise. So if we're saying that becoming economic powerhouses is what needs to happen, then there is a very simple math. Poverty is solved by prosperity, not poverty alleviation. The goal should not be to be a little bit less poor. So poverty is solved by prosperity. Prosperity is built by entrepreneurs. Yet entrepreneurs don't happen in a vacuum. They need a friendly business environment together with affordable, reliable, abundant energy sources. Period. Those two are the critical ingredients for the recipe called prosperity and becoming an economic powerhouse. The more you provide those two to any nation, to any people, and the bigger of an economic powerhouse you become. And when you become an economic powerhouse, you get to build up your defense. You get to build up even more infrastructure. You just get to build more, and you become relevant. Your voice becomes relevant, and people have to think twice before they mess with you. That's it. So all of us have a nonsense of how do we do this, we do that. That's just it. So then when you go back to the recipe, let's start with affordable, abundant, reliable energy. And by the way, these are the two ingredients that Africa lacks the most of. We are the most energy poor continent in the world, and we are the continent with the least economic freedom in the world. That's a big problem. Yet I hear no one talking about this. Every time I hear Africans talking, it's like, oh, colonialism has done this to us. Oh, racism has done this to us. The reason why our passports are the weakest passports in the world, it's not because necessarily people are racist. Let me tell you, money is something that has no taste, no color, no nothing. When you have it, people start to look at it differently. So this passport thing, the visa ban, all racism. So all of this, we're just whenever we talk to Africans, there's always something. That's the reason why we're where we are. Yet I hear no one tell me Africa is the poorest region in the world because it's the one that least the critical ingredients that's needed for building prosperity and becoming an economic powerhouse. I hear no one talking to me about how hard it is for entrepreneurs to start and run businesses. And I hear no one talking about the energy side. If anything, we've been sold by the climate alarmists this idea that, fossil fuels is no good, net zero should be the goal, especially you Africans, you're going to be suffering from climate change if nothing is done. So let's stay away from fossil fuels. Really? Really? Fossil fuels is what has built the world. and continues to build the world. I am not against clean energies, absolutely not. But it is just not at the level where it makes a difference. It is not, renewables are simply not there yet in terms of affordability, reliability, abundance. For energy to be viable, it needs to be all three at once. And renewables is simply not there. Should we continue working towards those technologies? Absolutely. But in the meantime, we got to use what works. So until and unless I hear Africans speak like this, I know one thing: we're doomed. We are doomed because you don't work on what you don't recognize. So let's talk about these things. Energy, affordable, reliable, abundant energy. For a while there, things got very scary because the climate alarmists, the anti-fossil fuel zealots, have really been winning the narrative. And as we all know, culture is upstream of policies. It's just the way it works. So it has been many, many different policies going against the funding of fossil fuel based energy projects in Africa, right? And then people are like, why do you care about what the West thinks? Well, do we have the money to pay for this infrastructure? These are multi-billion-dollar projects, okay? And with the financing of these projects are very complex type of financing montages that almost, span the global world. And even when people in the UAE need to do sometimes some energy deals, they also need to sometimes talk to the folks in the UK or to the folks in Washington as well. It's just the nature of how some of these deals work. It's not about, but the problem is, for a while there, the plan and the mandate has been, especially in the name of ESG, we don't want to finance any fossil fuel related energy projects. So pipelines, forget about it. All of that stuff, forget about it. So we were being forced almost to not be able to tap into our oil, into our gas. But without that, we know one thing for sure: we cannot develop. So this is a battle we've been on the front of. And recently, things have been changing. The wind has been turning. And I think the climate change, the climate alarmists are losing the argument. And it's becoming, what do you call it? It's becoming common sense again, that we cannot stop fossil fuels at the expense of people's lives. And that's what you heard Bill Gates just recently come up, say. Whatever you think of him, I'm not a fan of the guy, but whatever you think of him, at least he also had to wake up to this reality. And that's a major, indication of the fact that we are winning this argument when it comes to energy. So on the energy side, we have good news. Things are changing. Projects are being unlocked, and things are going to start, just keep moving. Meanwhile, people like me, we're also working on the type of policies in specific countries that are also going to allow smaller energy related companies to come to life and be able to start building, because it shouldn't be only the multi-billion-dollar projects that come to life, because for that, you can imagine you have to wait. Some of these montages take years to come together. Meanwhile, we need the fuel we need. So, but because of policies, again, regulations and bad laws, it's been almost impossible for smaller actors to get involved in the energy sector. And that is going to change as we work on these policies. So that's on the energy, which is one of the critical key elements. Then the other one, economic freedom. So really, economic freedom goes back to what we're talking about. It goes back to the strong institutions. Economic freedom is not just, what does the tax code look like? What does the labor laws look like? It's a constellation of all the rules and regulations that rule the life of a business, right? From the moment you have to legally register your business to the moment you have to officially close it off, and in between, life happens. You're growing, you're shrinking, you're opening more subsidiaries, all types of things happen. And then what are the labor laws, the tax code, the permits, all of these things that you need. And we know right now that Africa, again, is the region in the world where entrepreneurs have the least economic freedom. So economic freedom is, I call it the toolkit of the entrepreneurs, which is basically, we're talking about the rule of law, we're talking about concept of property rights, all of those things that you guys, I'm sure, talk about all the time. So what we have right there right now is a situation where when you're trying to do business in our nations and you're trying to do it formally, legally, you realize that it's like swimming through molasses, like I said. There's a reason why most of our businesses are in the informal sector. They're in the informal sector because they know what formality means. And it's just a non-starting proposition for most people. So what you guys have been working on is really great. And so what I'm going to try to challenge everybody on thinking about today is up till now, many of us have been focusing on reforms, which is the right thing to work on. Reforms. We've got to get to a place where our countries get reformed, especially when it comes to the business environment. Because again, remember, sometimes the fights look big. Everywhere you look in our nations, there are 20 million problems. Some people are thinking about the human rights problems. Some people are thinking about the freedom of the press problem. Some people are thinking about, you know, in my case, the entrepreneurship issues. Some people are thinking about the healthcare. Some people are thinking about the education. Some people are thinking about access to clean water. So everywhere you look, there are problems. But I argue that at the end of the day, all of these problems, most of them are there. Why? They're there because there's a bed. It's sitting on a bed of poverty. It's sitting on a bed of poverty. Who doesn't have access to clean water? Poor people. Education. Even when you say, oh, how come girls don't have access to education? We know that when a family has more prosperity, the gap between girls being educated or not completely shrinks and goes to zero. We know that all this thing we talk about health and all of that, again, you go back to poverty. When you think about all of these things, it's a domino. There are dominoes. And you have to think about which one is the domino that if I push it, then it takes all the other ones. Freedom of the press. In the US, I know people complain about freedom of speech and everything, but are you seeing journalists being put in jail in the US? No. They might complain, oh, so-and-so is messing with the algorithm. We don't get to see our stuff anymore. But, you have first of all, a multitude of, news sources. Some of them more on the right, some of them more on the left, some of them more in the middle. It's all over the place. But are you hearing journalists being put in jail? No. The places where you're hearing people being put in jail usually are poor places for the most part. Especially in our case, in many of our nations. So what I'm trying to say here is, and I'm not saying that other places you're not having, sometimes issues with journalists, but it is worse when you're in a poor nation. Everything gets worse. Everything becomes worse. Human rights get trampled all the time. Everything gets worse. So that's why I would argue here for everybody here. I would love to see some of us be monomaniacally focused on economic freedom or these things about energy. It's not about being self-serving, but it's like think that even if you got to live 200 years, it is still nothing on the grand scheme of things. So do you want to spend your time trying to knock down, to pop balloons that really are only symptoms of a much bigger problem? And then those balloons just you pop one here, another one comes up, another one comes up. Why? Because where it's coming from, you never addressed it. And I argue that domino number one, that first domino to be tackled, you push it, it pushes everything, is that one, the one around economic freedom. Because you tackle that one, it means you free our entrepreneurs. The leash around their necks are gone. Once they're freed, they now go to build and do what only them know how to do, which is create value for themselves and others, build companies which create jobs that provide income to people. If you have enough of that going on, now you have a prosperous nation. And we take it from there. Prosperous nation means people have time, the mental space and leisure also to think. Now that you're food in your belly, roof over your head, now you start to be like, by the way, the quality of this air I'm breathing, what's going on with that? That deal you just signed, what was that all about? Women or children's minority rights, Let's talk about this. And many of us are starting to fund think tanks like yours. Some of the think tanks or some of the NGOs are going to be about animal abuse. So because we don't want to abuse the animals. And so some people are working on that so that we can treat the animals better. So society starts to just become better because there's all of this money that's been made by everyday people and some a little bit more richer, and they're starting to look outside of themselves and into different problems. That is how a society evolves. Some people say, I have an issue with freedom of speech. We want to make sure that people still get to talk, whatever it is. So you see what I'm saying with this one domino, because us, especially in the liberty movement, one of my greatest issue has been that we get scattered all over the place. We want to tackle all the problems, but most of the problems you want to tackle are just symptoms of a root. And that root is poverty, and poverty is solved by prosperity, entrepreneurs, economic freedom. So what I'm doing on there is working on startup cities. These are special, a new generation of special economic zones. Because we do know that anytime these have been tried around the world, whether it's Dubai, whether it's Singapore, whether it's Shenzhen, whether it's all of these different places that you can think of, Hong Kong even was one, it is how it works, right? You basically, on a rather unoccupied plot of land, you work with the government to say, here, we are going to change the commercial laws. We're not going to deal with, touch family laws, defense laws, immigration laws, all of that, because that really is the preview of a sovereign nation. But saying, okay, here we're going to have different business laws. In America, you see it all the time. You're in California. You set up a company. Your company can be literally you're in California, but it's registered in Delaware. You get this whole thing of choice of law, all of these things. So we think it should be only fair for these are really great practices. Everywhere it's done, we know that entrepreneurs get to actually be even more free to enterprise, and things get better. So here you're thinking about these type of zones where, and in my case, I always like to do everything, whether I believe in capitalism, and yet I'm always like about conscious capitalism. So it's going to be the same thing with these special economic zones, these startup cities. I am going for this whole concept of ethical startup cities, meaning that I believe we can do what Dubai has done, we can do what Singapore has done, and more, and do it in an even more ethical way, where you won't have to hear about, workers, rights being abused here and there, or people, workers, like the accidents that are happening, all of that. It can be done in a really good way. So that's what I wanted to leave you guys with. I want to challenge you to be very strategic, very strategic. The money is going to want for you, you're a nonprofit. You're going to try to probably, you're a think tank, and you're going to be very dependent on grants. The problem we have today is a lot of the grants that are available for Africa, first of all, many of them do not go to liberty-oriented organizations. That does not mean you should be discouraged. It means this is a huge opportunity, because at the end of the day, the truth and the evidence is on your side. So what it needs is, I need you guys to double up on your efforts. But as you double up on your efforts, it's going to be very important that you be very smart about what you do and how you do it. And be very careful not to confuse your problems with the problems of the first world. American problems when it comes to freedom are not yours. Some of them you share, some of them you don't share. You're going to see people going to be super excited to fund you because, oh, we're doing freedom of speech. Freedom of speech, critical, absolutely critical. Or freedom of the press, absolutely critical, absolutely critical. But in the US, if you have $1, you can spend it financing it more freedom of press, where for that same dollar, if you're in Africa, I would argue, you better go fight for freedom of the entrepreneurs. Because if you fight just the freedom of press and no one is dealing with freedom of the entrepreneur, we stay poor. We stay poor means our reporters are going to keep being more harassed It is easier to harass and put your reporters in jail in a country where everybody else is poor, doesn't even have time to think about any of this crap. So please be very intentional about where and how you spend your time and which of the issues you take on. There is nothing more dumb than to pick issues midstream. A lot of these issues you hear about for countries like ours, in general, it's midstream. It's somewhere in the middle. So for somebody who has already seated themselves well, housing, food, everything, it does make sense to start talking about those problems. But for the person who doesn't even have a home to go to, has barely enough to eat, the child might die from a disease that no one dies from anymore. What's the urgency? What's the urgency? To deal with that or to deal with some of these other, lack of freedoms that, if you fix the here, 80% of those get solved on the other end. So be very smart, be very intentional, and keep your eye on the ball. It's going to be very easy for you to be distracted, especially as you try to follow the grants and as you try to follow the money. The problem we have today is the money is coming from places that cannot begin to understand oftentimes our particular issues, and where also that comes from places where they're rightfully so, those donors have been very they're excited about issues because those issues are the ones that they see to be their biggest problem in their nation. When you're in a country like the US or other places like that that are rather prosperous, prosperity is not really the biggest problem. You've moved beyond that. You've moved beyond poverty. Now you're talking about these other Maslow, much more, self-contextualizing issues. And of course, in places like that, you're going to have somebody who's going to give all of their money to animal welfare. They have billions of dollars, they die, and they say, all my money is going to go to make sure that animal welfare gets better in this country. I'm on board with that. I'm totally on board with that. Because they happen to be in a country where almost everything else is taken care of. Why not this? And also, while they're doing this, somebody else maybe is financing something else. It's okay. I believe, it's okay. But us, we have to remember what are our biggest needs right now. So that's what I would love for you guys to know that you guys are going to be trying to focus on. And by the way, there are lots of grants, many great people, many great organizations. Atlas Network is one of them. We're doing, we're going to try to go more into these directions also at the John Templeton Foundation, where I'm at as well. There are many great organizations that believe in the ideas that you guys believe in and will completely support you. As you say, we understand that all of these other problems are big, and yet we believe that if we invest at the root cause, it will help down the road solve some of these other issues. And I rely on you guys to educate the donor base. I rely on you to educate the grant makers. They're here, they're listening, they're very invested in the betterment of Africa. There are so many great people across the world, in the US and elsewhere, who would want nothing more than to see this great continent of ours thrive. But the job now is in your hands to educate them about what the continent needs, and not it be the other way around. And it's happening a lot the other way around, not because people are trying to patronize us or anything, but it's because if we are not going to do it, and if we just go along with what we think they're interested in, then we leave a vacuum behind. And at least they try to fill it. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys. There's so much work to do. These times are looking very scary for many people, but to me, these are the most exciting times that we could have been entered and we could be, given to be alive through. If we get our job right, if we focus, if we keep our eye on the ball, I promise you, you will see a prosperous Africa in this lifetime of ours. My mantra is 2.5 billion prosperous Africans by 2050, and damn it, it will happen. And it will happen based on what I just talked about. We know that when we create these zones, the minute it's created, 12, 15 years later, you have now a mini city where it was created that looks like Singapore. It's getting faster and faster as it gets done. And this, my friends, is what gives me so much hope and why I'm so excited about the future. And why I'm so excited when I see groups like yours deciding to join the battle and getting organized. There's a lot of great work to do, a lot of exciting work to do. And we don't need 20 million people. We just need a few of us who get it and are committed and are willing to show up and keep pushing. So that's why I wanted to come and share something with you. Perhaps I talked for longer than I was supposed to, but hopefully that's okay.
All right, thank you so very much, Magath. That was truly a reflection. I think she touched on, like something we really need to look out for, which is poverty. Like, poverty is one big thing. I've seen that firsthand, even in families. If you're able to touch on, like, one person is able to rise up in the family, he help others, and education will not be a problem. Healthcare will not be a problem because they have someone who is like doing well. And most times when you hear about all of these things, no access to clean water, no access to good health care, and all of that, it doesn't happen with the rich. It happens with the poor. So the rich are just there. They try as much as possible to see how they can just throw a chunk. They just do this like somebody's tossing a tennis ball and all of that at you, and it's not really adequate or it's not really enough to cater for the millions of people who are poor, especially in our continent in Africa. So thank you so very much for that thoughtful reflection. I think it brings us back to what we should be fighting for. And if I must say, I hate poverty. And I will join in your quest of that 2 point something billion by 2015 alleviating Africa. Seriously, it's a wonderful reflection. I think every other person on the call should have gotten an insight from it. So we will now directly move to some of the members who are here and prospective members of the network. It's just working in different contexts. So you are a think tank, you're a member, you're a CEO, you're a founder, and all of that. You work in different contexts, what the organization is doing, but facing the shared challenge, right? Which is, of course, collectively as Africans, what is our shared challenge? What are we trying to tackle? Many persons want to tackle doing business in the marketplace or trying as much as possible to help others really start for business with government agencies and all of that. How to ensure these ideas translate into lasting institutional influence. It's, I think, one thing all of us have in common, and we want to see that we make it better here in Africa. So each speaker will have about 3 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes, sorry. We'll have to ask them to briefly reflect on what coordination across these different think tanks or these different institutions could be made possible, right? Or what possibility do we see inside, especially when it comes to the African Liberty Network that we are building. And I think we'll get right into some of the speakers I have here for today for this launch. First of all, we'll introduce Angela. Angela is the founder of Ladies Network for Economic Freedom Ghana. Angela, if you're on the call, please, you have 2 minutes to just share your reflection, very quick. And we'll get to Denise, then we'll get to Arthur, then Benjamin, and we'll move on back to wrapping up for the evening. So please, Angela, if you can hear me, please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, loud and clear. We can hear you perfectly.
Thank you very much. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm so glad to be here with you all and to share with you what ALN is about and what it solves in our institution, like Ladies Network for Economic Freedom. So ALN solves one of the most important problems that we face, which is working in isolation in a very complex environment. When we started LANEF, we were clear about our mission, advancing and advocating economic freedom, individual liberty, and leadership for women in Ghana. But what we didn't fully appreciate at the beginning was how lonely and fragmented this work can be across Africa. So many organizations are doing similar work. We are facing the same policy barriers, political pressures, and capacity challenges, and even fundraising challenges, but often without a structured way to learn from one another or to move together, we kind of get limited or get stuck. And I'm here to tell you, ALN changes all that. For LANEF, ALN provides a trusted space where we don't just meet, but we actually coordinate, we learn, and we grow together. And I'm not just, reciting the speech. I happen to be, let's say, a beneficiary of this great network. So I have met Leon, I've met Arthur, I've met Dennis, and some way, somehow, they have made inputs that have, moved LANEF from where we were to where we are now. I have coordinated with Leon on several projects for LANEF, and it has been amazing. So I'm not here to just, give you share a certain speech that we have written somewhere, but I'm actually to tell you what I have actually, benefited from ALN. And also, ALN solves the problem of limited perspective. Sometimes, as a single institution, it's easy to become inward looking or constrained by local realities. But through ALN, we gain regional and continental insights, we see patterns and not just problems. And that helps us to make better strategic decisions and avoid costly mistakes. Because the reason why I'm saying this is because sometimes when we are working in isolations in our individual countries, we tend to sometimes reinvent the wheel, or sometimes we even duplicate a solution that, let's say, if I'm in Ghana, I duplicated a solution that maybe Eric or Leon in Nigeria has already, solved that problem, and it caused so much duplication in the system. Also, another key problem ALN solves is credibility and confidence. Being a part of this network strengthens our institutes legitimately with partners, donors, and even internally as our team. Okay, it signals that our work is connected to a broader movement for economic freedom across Africa and not just a standalone effort. Okay, so for our institution, African Liberty Network is not just a network, it is an ecosystem, and it helps us to move faster, it helps us to think better, and it helps us to lead with more confidence. And that ultimately strengthens our ability to deliver lasting impact. Thank you very much, Eric.
Yeah, thank you so very much, Angela. That was quite concise, though a little above 3 minutes, but it's fine. So thank you so very much for sharing what you did, what you do at LANEF, and of course how the ALN it's like a huge part of what you are building, or what are the strategic decisions you've taken in your organizations, and moving into, of course, what ALN is going to be doing in the future to come. We see it as a connected movement, that ecosystem, just like you put it, where other think tanks, we come together to share ideas and see how we can better enrich our different regions and our different think tanks, even in our different countries or home countries. Yeah. So moving on to the next speaker is going to be Denis Bois. Denis Bois Oscar is the founder of Metindo Network for Economic Initiative Uganda, and he will be giving us insight to, or his own reflection based on ALN, and of course how that has also been part of his organization. So Denis, if you can hear me, please, you're up. Hi, Denis, you can speak. Okay. Can you try again? I'm trying to give you a way to unmute.
Yeah, I'm on now.
Okay, great. Okay, great.
Thank you very much, Eric. A very good evening, good afternoon, good morning. My name is Denis Bois. I'm the founder of the Metindo Network Development Initiative.
Sorry, Denis, I don't know if it's my network, but I don't think we can hear you. You're not very much audible. Can you like maybe increase your vocal so that we get to hear you?
Yes, a second. How about that?
I think it's better now.
Is it any
Denis,
better?
you can proceed. Yes, please. It's better.
All right. Sorry, my network has been a little glitchy for the whole of today. But my name is Denis Bois. I'm the founder of Metindo Network Development Initiative. a think tank based in Uganda, Kampala, doing focused on business incubation, free market education, and climate resilience. I am also privileged to be serving at ALN as a secretary. So from my own perspective, what this ALN can solve in matters of coordination, I'll just give a very short incident about how Mutindo started. Mutindo started in 2021, and in this year we didn't have funding as many other organizations would do in their rise up or startup stages. We didn't have funding for up to 1 year, but what helped us gain strength was the partnerships that we had to leverage on, the friends that we had to leverage on, the collaborations that we had to work with. Some who are very close friends and did not even charge us anything to partner with them, but also some who are friends who loved to support the kind of work and the kind of vision that we had. So ALN, Mutindo Network, supporting and being part of ALN is a very fundamental thing for us. It's something that we love to do. Without collaboration, new ideas cannot be developed. Without partnership, new ideas cannot be developed. Without coordination and cooperation, like Angela mentioned, there is an ecosystem that you may fail to find yourself in, right? So us supporting this is, and us being part of this as Mutindo Network Development Initiative is something that we're not just excited about. It's something that we love to do because we know the benefit that comes with cooperation. We know the benefit that comes with joining a coalition. We know the insights, we know the ideas, we know the energy that comes with such a network. All the previous speakers have mentioned, and I believe they also have their different reasons as to why they love to be part of such a network. So from my end, it's basically we understand what this means and we understand what this holds. Right? And it's not about excitement that you just mentioned. It is what we are willing to put in it. It's the energy we're willing to put in it. It's the networks we're willing to build with it. It's the ideas we're willing to front with it. It's the family that we're willing to build, right? Because just like we're having this Zoom meeting right now and the launch, it is having a lot of us from different continents of Africa. And so this is the energy we're speaking about. This is the support that we're speaking about. This is also the cooperation that we're speaking about. It starts from here, and then it gives birth to much, much, much more incidents, much more engagements, much more opportunities, much more things that unfold and create prosperity, like our guest speaker was speaking about. So from us, for the love of liberty in Africa and for the love of empowering the African young people, we'd love to be part of this. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so very much, Dennis. That was really rich. Thank you for all you do at Mutindo Network for Economic Initiative Uganda. So move on to the next, David Benjamin from South Sudan. He is the founder of Organization for Liberty and Enterprise. David, if you're on the call, please, you are free to speak. Kindly unmute yourself and take it away. Liam, can you hear me?
Yeah. Good evening, colleagues.
Hi, good evening.
I'm David Benjamin Jinala from South Sudan, from a co-founder of the Organization for Liberty and Entrepreneurship. straight to the point. The reason why I'm much interested in participating in ALN and what will the coordination do to Organization for Liberty and Entrepreneurship. As my colleague Dennis Boer has said, before now, ALN had been in informal coordination or informal coalition with colleagues from Uganda. Where just an example, like when we need some supplies, like we need some books from Uganda, we don't need to move from South Sudan to Uganda. We talk to Dennis, we talk to Odonk. They are able to make sure that they put them on bus and then they reach us. Therefore, that kind of coordination alone reduces the cost of us moving from here to Uganda. Meaning, if that kind of coordination is escalated into a global level, we will be able to do much with less. Meaning, we input less, but the impact is high. And that is the essence of us moving forward. Because that, for me, has been a very good experience. I don't need to move to Uganda, but I can get what I want from Uganda because of that coordination aspect. And that saves a lot of money. And again, Alan is giving us a platform where we'll be able to share experiences. Like my colleague said earlier on, we share experiences. We are from different countries, and Magath was putting something very clear where what works in America might not work here. What works in South Sudan might not work in Uganda, but us sharing experiences, we'll be able to get advice through that platform. And that's why I believe that coordination link will be able to make us work together and achieve the goal of free Africa. Again, one important thing is not all of us are very competent in pursuing the ideas of liberty. Some of us have joined the movement, but we realize we still lack some knowledge. And being on such a platform will give us a clue to have people who have the expertise and will be able to work together, get advice from them, and work as one body. Meaning, if Olen is organizing an event here and they're looking for maybe speakers, this platform will be a coordinating body for us to ask maybe Metindo, we want somebody from the side to speak and reduce a lot of cost for us of sourcing and those stress and many others. So the coordinating body like ALN will make us come together. There's this African proverb that says, one finger cannot clap. So that one finger cannot clap is what we are trying to avoid here. And if it claps, it will not be loud enough. So us coming together, we will be able to voice the liberty ideas in Africa. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so very much, Benjamin. That was great. Thank you for sharing that reflection with us. So before I bring up Otto, who is the founder for Action for Development Initiative Uganda, and of course the East African coordinator for ALN, I will like also to state that we really want to thank the speakers for their reflection. I think one of the most important questions we've heard this evening is what exactly does participation in African Liberty Network look like in practice? How is it going to look like? What should you be expecting, or how do you get involved in this practice? So to address this clearly and to remove some of the ambiguities that you might be thinking in your head, I will now invite Odonk Otto to help now outline how the network operates, what it enables, and how or what it does not require from its members. So that you get to really fully understand how ALN is going to operate, what is going to be doing, what it enables, or what are the opportunities that are there, and of course, what it doesn't require you to do as a member of ALN. So also, if you can hear me, please, over to you.
Thanks very much, Eric, the moderator, and thanks very much the previous speakers. First, because of time, I'll try to run through faster. I don't know, are you getting me clearly? Okay.
Yeah, a little bit looks further, but it's fine.
Okay, because of time, I'll try to run through faster. First and foremost, I would want to echo much on what the president said earlier, what ALN is not. ALN is not a program, is not a project, or is not a campaign. We are not just a one-time kind of initiative that has come in place. So the entire emphasis here is ALN is a collaborative platform. We are an umbrella of collaboration, a landscape that is to come and, unearthing these isolated works of the liberty and flourishing advocacies. So our entire work here is, first of all, how do you become a member is I want to upload each one of us that our website and all our media handles are well clearly identifying or clearly explaining how you become a member. You have to register and, submitting your interest. It's not, a bandwagon kind of thing. You're expressing interest, you're vetted, and your communication will be issued to you. But first and foremost is what are we exactly? What do you stand to gain from being part of ALN? As we have emphasized continuously that it's a platform, it's an engagement. We want to unearth, break these isolated works. Our president said it clearly, the isolated competition. We want to have a collaborative landscape. There are things that us doing together on a collaborative landscape could make our voices stronger, could make our impact larger and greater. South Sudan was trying to make it clear that something may be happening in South Sudan that is totally unrelated to something happening in Nigeria, but sharing it on the platform of collaboration will spark the sense of value and the sense of continuous work on the bigger landscape. So that is why ALN is here. And the president made it clear, ALN is not a centralized kind of system that is to impose kind of autonomy onto our independent think tanks. It is a free operational collaborative landscape, that there are no laws or no terms that are to influence your internal operations of the think tank. No, that's not what ALN is about. ALN is not there to come and, interfere with your internal operations, interfere with your decisions of the board of governance and the likes. No, ALN is just to offer a landscape to amplify your isolated works. But then going further, ALN is also looking forward, as the president said, to long-term thinking of trying to create together collaborative work environments. A case in point is we are all on these ideas of pushing for freedom, but we can have a joint signature landscape that we all come together and as on the African landscape unveil or unearth these ideas of freedom, like running a joint masterclass whereby Liberalist is on board, Face of Liberty is on board, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania are all on board, and we are all sharing on a masterclass of freedom and flourishing of individuals. So I think because of time, I'll have to keep it to that, but I will want to upload most of us to go to our website, go to our channels, follow ALN, and then if you want to be a member, whether individual or as a think tank, you can submit in your application and we shall get back to you. Thanks very much, moderator.
Thank you so very much, Otto. That was concise and of course, straight to the point. And yeah, thank you for using your 2 minutes powerfully. I thought you used more than that because you had like the dual role. Well, thank you for keeping it that brief. And of course, it was really clear. We get to understand what ALN is all about and what it's not. So it's not a think tank. It's not a monitoring kind of system. It's just a platform that gives us all as African think tanks the avenue to collaborate on a larger scale, share our challenges and see how we can move from there in, of course, achieving a better Africa for all of us. So thank you for that clarity. So to close to this program, we will now return to the president of the African Liberty Network to offer a forward-looking reflection and a calm invitation for collaborations to all members and all think tanks founders, programs lead, CEOs, and all of that who are on the call today. This frame will enable what comes next and as an obligation, but also as an opportunity for alignment and of course, shared learning. So please, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome back again, Leonard Gunwede. Please, Leonard, if you can hear me, over to you.
Thank you very much, Eric. As we come to the close of this launch, I want to be clear about one thing, and very, very clear. What we have begun today, as we've mentioned in the last 1 hour, is that today is not an event. It is the beginning of a very long-term institutional project. Because the African Liberty Network was not created to move quickly. Don't get it twisted. We were not created to move quickly. We are not created to gather headlines or to announce scale before substance. This network was created to do something more difficult and ultimately more valuable. That is to grow deliberately, thoughtfully, and with institutional discipline. We all believe that this network, like institution, has strengthened over time. They mature through trust, shared learning, and repeated engagement, not through urgency or pressure. That belief will shape how ALN evolves from this point forward. And engagement with this network is very, very voluntary and exploratory. There is no decision required from anybody that is on this call today. No commitment is expected of you. No alignment is demanded. What matters at this stage is your curiosity, your reflection, and the shared interest in strengthening the role of ideas and institutions in shaping Africa's future. So you might be asking yourself, what next? In the coming days, we will be sharing short follow-up outlining the thinking behind ALN design and how the network operates in practice. For organizations interested in learning more, there will be an opportunity to explore engagements through conversation, shared learning activities, and collaborative work at a pace that makes sense for each institution. For some, that may lead to deeper participation. For others, it may simply remain a point of reference. Both are entirely appropriate, and we are fine by it. The African Liberty Network will measure its success not by how many organizations join quickly, but by whether those who engage do so with clarity, alignment, and purpose. Our growth will be intentional, not accelerated. Inclusion will be principled, not performative. If there is one invitation I would like to extend this evening, it is simply this. Please, stay in the conversation. Stay engaged with the ideas being discussed here. Stay open to collaboration where it adds value. And stay committed within your own institution to the long work of strengthening ideas, incentives, and institutions that endures beyond political cycle and funding timeline. The work that brought us together today did not begin here. It didn't start today. And it will not end here. The African Liberty Network exists to support that work that we've been doing over the years, to connect it, to strengthen it, and to help it to travel further over time. Thank you very much for being part of this founding moment. We look forward to building carefully with you, collaboratively, and with patience in the months and years ahead. And before I learn, I would advise, please, if you want to hear anything from us, check our website at africalibertynetwork.org. I'll say that again, africalibertynetwork.org. And at the end of this meeting, once you click end on your phone or on your devices, a pop-up survey will come to you. Please help us fill those survey forms so that we can do better in doing other things that you think we should do as we grow this network to something we can all be proud of. Thank you very much, and I yield back to the moderator.
Thank you so very much, Leon. That was conclusively calm invitation and welcoming. Thank you for that. But yeah, that's nice closing of invitation, giving everyone the chance to come to the table to make a meaningful contribution. Looking forward to our shared learning and of course our shared contribution when it comes to individuals, think tanks, as persons here in Africa promoting freedom. So as we conclude, a few practical notes I really want all of us to really get before we leave following this session. Number one is that as a participant, first, whether you're being on this call, you will receive a founding members value kits outlining what ALN purpose and participation pathways is all about. Please do well to check your emails, and of course, do well to go through them when you get them. That's the first. Then the second is that you get information on how the organization can express interest in engaging with the network. So how can your organization, how can you express your interest if you want to engage in ALN? And of course, lastly, but of course not the last, is that a summary of the next step over the coming weeks, I think, which Leon has reiterated in his closing calm invitations to all of us. So we want to thank you for your time, your attention to being here, and most importantly, your ongoing work in your different think tanks in strengthening ideas and of course institutions across Africa. So ALN is another of that vision you've already built for yourself across your network and as an individual. So this now concludes the official launch of the African Liberty Network. But first of all, before we go, let me say thank you to all the team members, from the president to the secretary to the East African coordinator and coordinators across different other African regions, and individuals who have, I think, poured out their hearts and their sweat to make sure this comes to life. And of course, most importantly, Magatte Wade, and of course, again, most importantly, you being on this platform this evening shows that you are also passionate about the building or the betterment of our dear continent. And we shared commitment, we shared hope, we shared collaboration. We are hoping that in the next possible future, which we all foreseen, joining our hearts with that of Magatte Wade to raise over 2.something billion by 2050, which I'm really, really excited about. And I really want to see it happen. You know, to alleviate poverty, I don't like being poor. I will want to now bring this launch officially to a close by saying good evening. And we are looking forward to a continuous engagement from all of us being on the call. And of course, extend this invitation to others. Leon might not do that to others, but you are here as an extension of what the African Liberty Network is all about. So, of course, don't forget, as we try to wrap up, I will now crave your indulgence wherever you are. Please turn on your camera. Let's take like a selfie before we leave the call this evening. So if you're still on the call, please help us turn on your cameras. Let's get to see your handsome faces, your beautiful faces from your different countries, wherever you find yourself, from Nathaniel to the Ladies Network for Economic. So I'll just be calling the right seat of my screen, please. Let's turn on cameras. Let me see if everybody has done that. Oluwatosin Ogundeyi, Yakuriki, Kam. Okay, so I might not know how to pronounce your name very well. Mandy, Christabel. Yeah, so I've called Mandy, Joseph, Monica. Please, let's try to turn on our camera so that we get to see our face and we get to have the group selfie. So Leon, let me know when you've done the selfie and we can now get to conclusive remarks before we go. All right, so you could just do anything, just smile, anything at all. I think that's it. So Leon, are we good? Oh, great. Oh, great. Thank you so very much, guys, for being here, for being part of the African Liberty Network. And yeah, just like it's been said, do well to check the website at www.africanlibertynetwork.org for more details and how, of course, you can express your interest in being part of this global family of African movements or African network of think tanks and individuals who are gearing towards a better future. Once again, thank you. My name is Eric, and I'm super excited to have moderated this session with all of us. Bye, guys.